Hello, anime fans. We are the Anime Connoisseurs.
What's cracking with it, cut? This is your boy Johan of the Sharingan.
Chaos.
And I am Noah. Our topic of discussion for today is what makes a good protagonist? When discussing anime and manga, the role of the protagonist tends to go overlooked in favor of other aspects of the series. But like any form of media, the protagonist is supremely important to the story. It's the lens through which we take in the events and setting of the story. And in anime and manga particularly, there are certain patterns and tropes surrounding the protagonist that one can pick out if they are paying attention. Would either of you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, if you have a protagonist that's not very entertaining, it can bring the show down as a result. I'm not going to bring any examples because I don't want to do like that. But
Yeah. Sort of the protagonist being sort of the main character, the main focus, so is sort of there to hold the show together. Basically, having someone you don't like as the main focus is probably gonna bring the experience down with the viewership.
yeah,
Someone that you can really get behind, really follow, is gonna get you really invested in the show. So, yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and there are a couple. Oh, go ahead.
Well, on that front specifically, I don't think the protagonist has to be someone you don't have to like the protagonist or even agree with them for them to be compelling. Obviously, that is the popular interpretation, but I think there are plenty of protagonists that are morally gray and generally how do I say this? Just generally not very likable. Yeah, just generally not very likable. That they make that even though they're not like impressing on the audience, excuse me, they still leave a mark because they are just so compelling, and they're just such a fascinating character study, I guess.
Very true.
Yeah.
On the whole, yes, I think that having a protagonist that is likable and someone you want to see succeed is important in most stories.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, there are a lot of. I would say that there are a couple of commonalities for characters that make "quote unquote" good protagonists. So,
yeah.
I think what we're going to spend most of this video doing is going through examples of well written, not necessarily well written, but just effective protagonists, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is we'll just go through the three of us, and I don't know how many characters you guys have, but I guess we could just start with Noah.
Yeah, we can just go on around, I think.
Yeah, and then just do the magic order that we always do. So
yeah. So my first example, I'll preface with this. A protagonist can serve any number of roles in a series. There's no real guideline on what a protagonist can and can't be. But I think that the one inarguable aspect of a protagonist that applies to pretty much every character that we're going to talk about is this. A protagonist should be the ultimate embodiment of the themes of the series. Particularly in shonen, where the themes are often very broad and apparent, you can see that in all the best protagonists, they're very emblematic of the themes that the series puts forth, whether it be through their personality, their actions, their backstories, etc., etc., etc. The protagonist I'm going to talk about, and the one that really made me evaluate protagonists in this way, is Luffy from One Piece, who I think is probably the single most effective example of a protagonist with this definition that I put forth. Every action that Luffy takes, or every aspect of his personality, feeds into so many of the themes of One Piece. To list a few, freedom, romanticism, revolution, camaraderie, inherited will, true strength, justice, and I could keep going. And One Piece fans who are listening to this, I'm sure you're probably picking out many things. Sure you can probably agree with me on this, that Luffy really is sort of the ultimate like anchor, the thematic anchor of the series, I guess. Uh, One Piece, it's a story about one man, Luffy's quest to become the Pirate King. And in this story, it's the Pirate King is less a like defined tangible goal. I mean, it is, but on a greater level, it's sort of a philosophical idea of like being the most free person in the world. Uh, and Luffy's backstory. It goes into great detail about why Luffy wants to be so free and wants to achieve this freedom. And similarly, a big theme of One Piece is romanticism, and not like romanticism like, oh, it's a romantic story. There's a lot of like romance in it. Yeah, definitely not. Um, Romanticism in the sense of, in the literary sense of like uh, a style of art and literature that emphasizes like the power of the individual and sort of the importance of passion and individual expression and subjectivity and such. And it's through and Luffy, I think, excuse me. It's sort of Luffy, I think, does that shows that very, very effectively. He is he does everything because of his passion and his ambition, and exemplifies and all the people he meets. Luffy is a very subjective person. I think he doesn't really think of things in terms of like facts and like tangible evidence. He thinks of things in terms of like, oh, this person is experiencing this, and like and this is and this is how they help me, and excuse me. He doesn't see the world in black and white. He doesn't really view people as good or evil. Just he views them as people, and that's kind of what the romantic movement is about. It's about viewing the beauty of humanity for all of its light and darkness, and sort of accepting it. And that's what's so attractive about him to his allies, and what's so dangerous to his enemies. Which brings me to another theme of One Piece that Luffy is very emblematic of, and that's camaraderie. Luffy, he values his friends above all else, even more above finding the One Piece. There's multiple examples in the series where he's presented with the choice to, progress on his journey and to leave his friends behind, or return to his friends at the cost of his progress. And every single time, without fail, he chooses his friends because
He's just
Luffy.
that type of guy.
Yeah, he's just that type of guy. He doesn't want and his backstory sort of explains this part of his personality. He doesn't want to lose any of his friends. He wants to be strong enough that he doesn't have to lose anyone ever again. And that's what ultimate freedom means to him. And you can kind of see how the different themes kind of intertwine with each other. They intersect. So yeah, Luffy, he values his friends very highly, and in return, his in return his friends value him and support him. And the whole Straw Hat crew, they all that's why they're such a force to be reckoned with, because they all support each other in their own way. What else?
Well, one thing I could say as an outsider, as someone who hasn't, you know, read One Piece or even consumed it, Luffy seems like he seems like a very charismatic guy, and he has like that big dick energy, you know, like.
Yeah, he really. Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate assessment. And charismatic, as I think, is another good part. I think is another good way to describe him. But it's not like an active sort of charisma. There are many other characters in One Piece that could be described as quote unquote charismatic, like Doflamingo or Crocodile. But that's a video for another day. But Luffy's charisma comes, like I said, from how he values people. He always one thing. I'll come back to that later, but one unique thing about Luffy is that he always it doesn't matter whether he it doesn't matter whether he likes or dislikes a person. He'll always respect people. He'll always respect his opponents no matter what. One perfect example of this is that I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, but there's a part in
I would appreciate if we could chill with that.
Yeah, and One Piece fans will probably know what I'm talking about. But there's a part where Luffy comes across a secret of one of the villains. It's for some reason this villain, they don't like anyone looking at their back because of something that's on there that they don't want anyone to see because of their backs, because of something that happened to them in their past. And Luffy sees this and understands this and comes to learn about this. And later in the arc, when Luffy is fighting the villains, the villain's back gets exposed for everyone to see. They're fighting in like an arena area, and the villain's back gets exposed, and Luffy immediately, without hesitation, jumps to cover their back because he doesn't want anyone to because he knows that they don't want anyone to see it. And when the villain asks them about this, he says, yeah, I know that you don't want anyone to see your back. We may be enemies and we may be fighting, but this has nothing to do with our fight. And that's such a great character moment for him, because I just think it's so unique to see a hero that has such great emotional intelligence that he can pick up on this sort of thing and like respect it as well, because like someone else might have just been like, haha, serves them right, they are getting their secret exposed. But Luffy, he respects everyone. He might not like everybody, but he respects what they've been through and what they want and what they need and don't need. And in the end, this altercation actually leads to Luffy gaining a new ally, and that's part of his strength. It's because of his emotional intelligence and respect for people, and his acknowledgement of the value of people that he gains so many of his allies. And in One Piece, one of the other themes is, particularly among the villains, is the devaluing of human life. You know, you have people branded as slaves and treated as subhuman, entire races that are seen as lesser and brutish. what else? People who are forced to work for the noble class simply because of the caste system in place. And Luffy ignores all that because he only sees people as people, not people as a workforce or people as tools. He sees people as potential friends. And really, I think that's I think that's part of what makes Luffy so unique. I've talked about all these themes in One Piece, and that's what I think is so important in a story, the themes, because it's one of the great pillars of writing. You know, if you have strong themes, you can build. Those are kind of the bones for the story, and building your protagonist around those themes can really help like bring them to the forefront and make them seem bigger and more real. And like I said, I think Luffy is the ultimate example of that. And I think that's all I have to say about Luffy. So,
Well done.
thank you. Chaos or Johan, would you like to go next?
Sure. All right. So you mentioned that one of the most important aspects about a character or a protagonist is how well I guess they represent their series, like Luffy. Like you went into many examples about how he represents that.
Yes.
Now, one I guess trait of a character, or just certain elements of a character that I think is very important for protagonists specifically, are complexity and human realism, them feeling like they're human characters by seeing their failures and growth through struggle. So, the one protagonist that I want to talk about is my boy Black Swordsman, the real Black Swordsman, not some of that SAO garbage. We're talking Berserk, my guy. This is branded struggler, Guts. You'd love to see it, bro. All right, so Guts. So Guts stands out from many other protagonists. He's a very sympathetic character that feels realistic. And by the way, Chaos, feel free to jump in because I know you and I are both big Berserk fans. So if you want to talk about him too, I'm totally fine with that. So he's a sympathetic character that feels very realistic, an exceptionally human character with a vast amount of complexity. And on the surface letter, he seems like, oh, big, muscle, violent, big dick sword, kill demon. He seems like that, but on the surface level. But for those of you that have, actually read the series, it's not like that at all. It's quite the opposite. And you could definitely see this was written in the 90s, anti-hero, dark, edgy,
Yeah.
You can definitely tell it was written back then. However, I would say
that's part of it, but sort of just the surface detail of him.
Yeah. But I would say that Guts has a lot of complexity, and it's kind of hard to put him into an archetype because he changes so much throughout the story. It's like, oh, he's not really this, and this. His growth through the story is beautiful to watch or to read. Or I guess both, but we all talk about the 2017, 2016 Berserk out here. We talk about the manga. So there are numerous consequential pieces of a character, of character development that makes Guts' character very complex and human. He always has the odds stacked against him. Your boy is just never having a good time, except for maybe at the very end he has a very dark backstory, and I'm not going to go through all of it because I don't want to spoil too much. But let's just say that he didn't have the best life, and he has a lot of trauma he has a lot of there were a lot of events that happened that created some trauma for him that would follow him for a big portion of his life. And the basic storyline is okay, he met these guys called the Band of the Hawk, and they gave him solace for his horrible life. He finally was filled in an environment with camaraderie and motivation, and he met an ambitious man named Griffith, who was, who would probably become his best friend. I mean, you could obviously argue later on, but for the Golden Age, I think you could say that they were definitely like good friends. And that man would be the catalyst to Guts like searching for his ideals and philosophy. He is he's an existential, wandering man fueled by vengeance and animosity towards Griffith. And unfortunately, a certain event happens, he gets everything stripped away from him. And that's where he becomes, the struggler facing causality. Now, in the Black Swordsman and Conviction arc or Lost Children / Conviction, if you want to call those separate arcs, they're kind of the same, but they're different. But the Lost Children's like a part. Yeah, you get the idea. Guts is known for being very edgy, and that is something that I fuck with. I absolutely adore edgy characters. And even though that is something that is entertaining, at least for me, it does kind of give the misconception that Guts is a meathead sadist, which he's not really at all. I've seen that on the internet. I disagree with that. And, he's only, when in reality, he's fueled by like fear, revenge, and tragedy. And Miura does an excellent job making the character that's not only entertaining, but also he feels real and he feels very complex. It doesn't feel boring at all. Whenever Guts is on the screen, you never feel like, oh, damn, this is going to be a horrible chapter. No, you feel like, wow, I can't wait to see Guts, like, what he's going to do now, And some of my favorite moments in, for Guts' character are the climax of the Lost Children arc, and his conversation with a certain young girl at the end of the Lost Children arc. The iconic Griffith, and what might be one of the most badass lines delivered by any character to any manga. His final words to the villain in the Conviction arc. That shit is I still fucking hear that shit before I go to sleep, man. That shit is fire. Now Guts makes many mistakes throughout the story, and he's not perfect, and that's good. And even though at times he can seem more demented and unstable than like the demons that he faces, he still shows many displays of human emotion and error. His negligence to looking after Casca while stuck on his path of vengeance is an example of some of his mistakes. It was very powerful to see him own up to his mistake and take that iconic heroic, or maybe not iconic, but that heroic stance. His encounters with Griffith alone show how far that he's come. Like, yeah. For those of you that have read the series, you know what I'm talking about. It's very appealing to see, his motivation to see like how he comes out, how you see him come out on top throughout his arduous journey, going against the waves of causality, and that's pretty rough because the world of Berserk is definitely not. It's not sweet. It's pretty rough. It's brutal. Many people.
I can tell.
Oh yeah, many people can resonate with Guts' story in different ways. His hardships do hit home for many people, and he's a very inspiring character with an indomitable will. Guts encapsulates what it means to be a struggling hero in a dark fantasy world, and I think Miura did an excellent job.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, you hate to see it.
One thing I want to add about Guts is I think a really good dimension to his character is sort of the compassion that drives him.
Okay. Could you go more into detail?
Stuff that was close to him. One of the first things that happens to him is he's betrayed by his father figure, who he just wanted to impress.
Yeah.
Then, sort of what happens, sort of at the end of the Golden Age happens. He loses comrades.
Everything.
Something horrible happens to the woman he loves, and sort of that sort of kind of breaks him into the way we see him during the Black Swordsman and Conviction arcs. So, but over the course, you still see that humanity in him and his compassion for other people. Sort of, he's driven into isolation from the fact that he doesn't want other people close to him getting hurt. He sort of has this outwardly abrasive attitude, but inside he definitely cares. I think
definitely.
I think you see that at the end of the sort of currently with his current party. There's the girl you mentioned at the end of the Lost Children arc.
Jill.
Jill. Yeah, yep. And there's just moments like that sprinkled throughout the series. Even though you have this outwardly guy presented as sort of this edgelord.
Brutish.
But really there's a heart of gold in there, just underneath the surface.
That's very true. And Guts is not only one of my favorite manga characters and one of my favorite protagonists, but he's one of my favorite fictional characters, and that is a pretty tough list to make. Like, he's probably at least top 5 favorite fictional characters, and that is saying a lot. So I think that just goes to show how great of a protagonist he is, and you could definitely see with future manga, not just seinen, but like shonen as well. They take a lot of I guess notes or inspiration from Guts' character.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And I do think that it just going, like, I guess reiterating what I said, the thing, like, deconstructing him, the reason why I believe he's an excellent example of a great of a protagonist are because of complexity, relatability, human qualities, and how well he sets the tone of the story, especially in the Black Swordsman arc when you meet him. And that's it for me, at least for my first character. Go ahead, Chaos.
All right, so my character I wanted to touch on is from Cardfight Vanguard. Now, I took an interesting take on this in that the protagonist I talk about is not the protagonist of most of the series, but he for most of the series he's the main rival. But for the final season of the original series, he becomes sort of the protagonist.
Oh.
Yeah. So as I said, this guy's name is Toshiki Kai. Again, he starts off as sort of the Kaiba kind of rival, very focused on sort of being competitive. So that he sort of has that aloof edgelord kind of personality on the surface, but like even in the early chapters, you start getting really interesting depth to him. So in this this fourth season of Cardfight Vanguard, I'm gonna admit it's not a great season at all. The pacing's bad. There's a really bad surprise antagonist at one point.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah. But I think what this arc does for Toshiki Kai's journey for the series as a whole is really interesting and cool. So basically, throughout this part in the last season, something happened that drove him to become sort of the antagonist of that season. And it was for pretty petty reasons, to be honest. And so season 4 ends up being sort of his redemption arc, and that's how he becomes and that's where his place as the protagonist comes in. Throughout the series, So the setup is the original protagonist of Cardfight Vanguard, Aichi Sendo, has gone missing, and Kai really wants to find him. This is his closest friend at this point. He's the only one who knows his Kai's reason for what he did, and he's the fact that he's forgiven him has sort of left an impact on him. So it means a lot to help this guy. Yeah. Man, how am I lost? And I have this whole script here.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. So so previously in the older seasons, Kai's been sort of a pretty lousy friend to Aichi. He's also trying to make up for that. And sort of this whole going back to Noah's whole thing about friendship is a huge theme in this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so to get help, he has to turn to Aichi's friends. And they sort of form a team again to sort of figure out what's happening to Aichi. And the antagonists show up. There's there's a surprise antagonist thing that happens that's bad, but the
PTSD.
The other antagonists. Well, the other antagonists in this series aren't necessarily bad guys. There's a reason for what they're doing, and what they're basically they're trying to help Aichi. And sort of one of them, Gylard, sort of has a grudge against Kai for what he did in the previous seasons. And so there's this really cool dynamic between them that forms a really good rivalry. And so yeah, I think that, and just sort of this whole redemption arc, him learning how to sort of become a better friend to Aichi through the season was really good.
That sounds very interesting, huh?
Yeah. And then this part of him as the protagonist is only part of his development. So there's there's a really interesting character here. I think that's all I've got so far.
Yeah, I really dig it when a series tries something unconventional with its protagonist. Tries to do something beyond the hero's journey style development.
Yeah, like take a concept and flip it on his head.
Yeah.
And on a similar.
Oh yeah, I think we could have had something about like the heroes, like the typical hero's journey talked about here.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little bit later, maybe.
Yeah.
But on a similar note of unconventional protagonist, the next character I'd like to talk about is one that I really didn't expect to be talking about at this point, and that's Gon Freecs from Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I recently finished reading the Hunter x Hunter manga, and I was very impressed with, and as I finished it, I was very impressed with the character of Gon and what Togashi ended up doing with him. Because from the outset, from the first few chapters, I wasn't all that impressed with Gon. I thought he was just another plucky young shonen protagonist who is determined to do the thing, find the thing, become a hunter and all that. But as the series progressed and you start getting deeper and deeper into the Hunter x Hunter world and looking at the nitty-gritty of Gon's character, you start to see a lot of you start to see that Gon is not as I guess one-dimensional as he seems. And I guess the thesis for Gon's character is what if you took that sort of uh, uh, ideal, optimistic, headstrong shonen protagonist and dropped him into an incredibly gritty, morally gray, and violent world where things aren't so easy as defeat the bad guy and win the day. And yeah, and I think Togashi does that wonderfully well. So the premise of Gon's character, what he's trying to achieve, is that he wants to find his father, Ging, who left him as a child to become a hunter. And Gon wants to achieve this by becoming a hunter himself and traveling around the world to find his father and reconnect with him, hopefully. And then that seems, innocent enough. It's a pretty well thought out motivation. But as the series goes on, you start to see little cracks in Gon's innocence, I guess. You can see that he is, even more so than a lot of shonen protagonists, like really self-destructive and willing to throw away his own well-being and even his life to achieve his goals. He will throw himself and even sometimes his friends into harm's way if it means that he'll be one step closer to achieving his goal or finding his father or something like that. And even though his friends are, even it's a good thing his friends are very supportive of him and understanding, because he does kind of end up using them quite a bit. And his development is, unlike a lot of protagonists, it's not a positive character arc, it's a negative character arc. We see, over the series, we see Gon start to fall into darkness and become more and more, his moral compass becomes more and more askew. And I didn't think much of it as I was reading through the early arcs, but going back, you can see a lot of these little things of like Gon being more attentive than you'd think, or like willing to do some things that this is kind of unsavory actually, and it's kind of brushed off, and a lesser author might ignore this and just say, oh, that's what it takes to be a hero or whatever. But Togashi, he actually does bring attention to it in the Chimera Ant arc. Now, of course, this arc has been praised to death by people who are much more well-spoken than me, so I'll try to keep it brief. But the Chimera arc, the Chimera Ant arc is really one of the most brilliant arcs I've ever read in a manga, because it really, in part because of what it does for Gon. This is sort of the culmination of Gon's negative character arc and all those little things where he starts to where he's been falling, and it comes to a head in the most tragic and heartbreaking way possible. And people have read Hunter x Hunter, you all know what I'm talking about. Throughout the course of the Chimera Ant arc, you start to see Gon doing more and more morally questionable things, and he's like killing people, and he really is. He has these outbursts of anger and frustration that, and you're actually like feel bad for the villains because of how Gon is threatening them and being around them, and it all comes to a head in the final in Gon's final confrontation of the Chimera Ant arc, where Gon pretty much goes full anti-hero. Like he mm, it's hard to talk about it without going into detail. But he just he literally kills a person. He kills a person in cold blood, like, and basically throws his own life away for the sake of petty revenge.
And then becomes a Jojo character.
Yes, that's the part I'm talking about. Yeah, like, and yes, it is kind of a silly looking form if you look at it from the outset. But what it represents is really what like adult Gon represents is really tragic, and the ultimate culmination of his character, and the ultimate culmination of his Gon's character arc. And I think I gotta respect Togashi for like writing a character that is like this and actually like paying it off in a satisfying way, and all more importantly, like actually having him face consequences for his actions that he takes. Because after this event, Gon loses a lot of his powers, his Nen powers, and is kind of like set back to square one in a ways. And in the manga, Gon actually hasn't been in the manga for a little while, so we don't know if Togashi is going to return to him and perhaps give him a new character arc. But as it is, I think, yeah, it's a bit odd. The current arc is focused on something different. I mean, it's been like over 2 years at this point. It might have been 3 years actually.
Oh,
Since,
hiatus.
Yeah. But if it does come back someday, I'm excited. If Togashi ever decides to finish it, or if he is able to finish it, I should say, I am excited to see what he comes up with.
Well, sounds like he did a good job so far. So
Yeah.
even if it doesn't have an ending, it's still going to be
Yeah, it's still going to go down as a great manga.
critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one more kind of separate thing about Hunter x Hunter. It kind of has like a dual, similar to Naruto, but not really. It has like a dual protagonist sort of thing. I don't even know why I said Naruto. Actually,
It's okay.
yeah, everything comes back to Naruto, huh?
It really does.
Yeah.
Anyways, Hunter x Hunter has kind of a dual protagonist thing going on with Gon and Killua, who is
Sasuke Part 2, by the way.
Yeah, Killua's Gon's friend, who he meets pretty early in the series. And their Gon and Killua's friendship is one of the defining and aspects of the series, and probably one of the most enjoyable. Like, honestly, these two are so wholesome together most of the time; it just makes me smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people really like Killua in particular.
Yeah, he's great. And Killua, in particular, he's a very good foil for Gon. Gon, who is this eager, kind of naive, happy-go-lucky kid. Killua, on the other hand, is jaded and hardened, and he's always looking behind his back and like always expecting the worst because of his upbringing. And it's really great to see him start to open up around Gon and start to be happy and escape the trauma that comes with his family. And it's interesting to see while Gon has a negative character arc and descends into darkness, Killua conversely starts to go towards the light and accepts more the, how do I put this?
Positive character arc.
Yeah, he starts to see the world in a more positive way because of Gon's influence on him, and conversely to how Gon's final moment in the Chimera Ant arc is a moment of tragedy and a fall for his character. Killua's final moment is a victory and a representation of how much he's grown as a person. Yeah, and as it stands, that's where those two characters are now, and yeah, I hope to see more of them in the coming future. With if Togashi ever finishes the current arc. I think
Alright.
that's all I have to say about Hunter x
Well,
Hunter.
Yeah, one thing you touched on the dual antagonist. I think that's a aspect that's not talked about too much, but I think it's a really cool. It's
Yeah.
always a cool dynamic when it works out.
It really is.
I think of one show I like is Gundam Build Fighters, the original one version of that. The way those two characters play off each other is always just fun to watch.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as good as what you've described with Gone and Killable or what I've seen. I've gotten up to the Chimera Android. I haven't actually gotten into it.
Do it. Read it.
But yeah, dual protagonists are just a really cool character dynamic that I'd like to see more of in shows.
For sure.
I feel like it's not the easiest thing to like execute.
It really isn't. You've got to, keep in mind different character arcs and, figure out how they complement each other. And it's hard, and now if the audience ends up liking one more than the other, then it can feel like agitating or frustrating when they have to go back to the less liked one.
Yeah, and having good chemistry between them, and a lot of shows can barely like keep track of their side characters, give them proper development. So having dual protagonists. Ooh.
Yeah, we've seen that happen a lot, unfortunately. But yeah. All right, so I guess it's my turn.
Yep.
So the second character that I want to talk about is Lelouch v. Brittania, and I actually wasn't planning on writing about him immediately because I had a couple of ideas. I'll just tell you right now, some characters that I thought about talking about that I didn't end up writing about were Alucard from Hellsing and Kiritsugu Emiya from Fate Zero, but I feel like that I just ended up talking about Lelouch and some other character that you'll hear about later. But so I would say Lelouch is another example of a very well written, entertaining, and relatively real character. He's often compared to Light Yagami from Death Note. That's the whole meme thing. Like, who would win? In a battle of wits between Lelouch and Light Yagami. The Death Note versus the Geass.
Yeah, he's got that kind of like smart alecky, nothing personnel kid like kind of vibe.
A little bit, yeah.
I think Lelouch is a far more theatrical kind of guy than Light is.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone that has read both, or that not read because there's no manga for Geass, but you get the idea. That has consumed both.
I wonder. Hold on, let me see something. Keep going though.
Yeah, I got you. Similar to Guts, Lelouch is a pretty complex character that does display many, human emotions. His motivation to overthrow the Britannian Empire, and to protect Nunnally, I would say is a pretty understandable motivation that many people can get behind. I absolutely enjoyed watching Lelouch work his way out of perilous situations. There are many times where Lelouch made a multitude of mistakes, and he had to fall back on supernatural intervention. Fortunately, Lelouch does have a very loyal and caring woman next to him at all times to get him out of these situations. One of my personal favorite female characters, C2. Unlike other stories where this would kind of seem like plot convenience, which it technically is, but it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like an ass pull. And it kind of gives you the idea that, damn, Lelouch isn't perfect. But he like learns from those mistakes, because he definitely, in the final battle of Code Geass, your boy is playing Yu-Gi-Oh with 7 fucking back row. Like he basically has a trick up his sleeve to cover a wide variety of possible negative outcomes. and he always tries to look for the weaknesses in his strategies to cover for them before the enemy exploits it. And I feel like we could sympathize with Lelouch when he makes mistakes. One quality about Lelouch that that both Lelouch and Guts share is that they both make the reader question whether the protagonist is the good guy of the story, especially in Code Geass's case towards the end. One of the main themes of Code Geass is getting your hands dirty to lead a rebellion, to make change, to germinate change and like actual, well, something good coming out of a rebellion, to be able to germinate change, and you have to get grime on your hands, on your mitts, on your gloves.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, your boy Lelouch is a teenager, like an adolescent. What is he, like 15, 16? Like, he's pretty young. And he's thinking about this type of stuff at a very young age. And I think it goes without saying that Lelouch represents his series very well. Lelouch's scheming, political maneuvers, manipulations, and utilitarian decision-making managed to keep Code Geass's plot interesting, at least for me. Maybe not for everybody, but, that's just how stories work. Not everybody likes everything, but I've heard many criticisms that Lelouch carries the series and that without him, it would be worse. And even if that is more or less true, the implied/indirect argument is that Lelouch is a fantastic protagonist. Because when you hear that criticism, the one thing you cannot, the one takeaway, the positive takeaway that you can bring out of that, you can extrapolate out of that, would be that Lelouch is a fantastic protagonist.
Yeah. And I don't even think that Lelouch carrying the series is necessarily a bad thing, because a fantastic protagonist, I think, should kind of carry the series, because like I said, they're the focal point of the series. They represent the themes and ideals of the series.
Yeah, and I feel like if the protagonist is not going to do it, then there are other characters that will do it anyway.
Of course.
But
of course.
I will say, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay, I just got a little bit more, my bad. So I would say the one character trait that separates Lelouch from other protagonists, at least from the ones that I've read, is that he manipulates people, seemingly betraying them, while still caring for them on the inside. And this is seen with characters like Suzaku, Callan, most of the Black Knights, Dark Knights, it's been a while. It's one of those. No, it is Black Knights, yeah. And this exemplifies the utilitarian mindset. Despite Code Geass having some controversial decisions in its plot, I think it is widely agreed upon that Lelouch always remains a fantastic protagonist, and it doesn't take away from his character. And I swear to God, man, I wish more protagonists were like Lelouch. I'm sure there are some that I just haven't read yet, but this guy is just, bro, when he's on the screen, he's just outplaying his opponent, bro. It's so cool to see. Your boy is just even though he has the Geass, you still feel like he is absolutely destroying your opponent. You know what I mean? He's just out here, Your boy is your boy is smart, bro. And he has good taste in women, I will say. Story for another day, but go ahead, Chaos.
Something about Lelouch is, I think, an interesting part of his character is sort of this balance between sort of selfishness and selfish desires, selfish and selfless, selfish and selfless desires. I think sort of his driving force is way more selfish than it sort of lets on. Basically, just wanting to protect his sister and have her have a nice world at all costs.
Yeah.
And sort of, I think the way he goes about things. People who are better at talking about this kind of stuff than me have made great videos on this. Maybe I could link one in the description. But yeah,
I have a few that I could link.
Got lots of depth to him. He's very entertaining to watch.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just thought of something. Hold on, let me read this. Oh yeah. So when Noah was talking about the dual protagonist type of thing, I feel like you could kind of say that Code Geass does a little bit, at
Oh
least.
yeah, with Suzaku. Yeah.
Yeah, with Suzaku, and it's like
Maybe-
the ideologies with them are constantly clashing, and it's it's kind of some people have said that like the disservice of Suzaku's character, like he kind of flip flops a little too much, and like he's kind of a frustrated. That's another video,
Yeah,
but
his-
I think it does it pretty well because it's like you feel like the ideologies are always clashing, and you don't really know like who's the good guy. Like, oh, is it like the Dark Knights, Black Knights, like Zero, or is it Suzaku and the Britannian Empire and King Charles and all those guys, and
yeah,
everyone loves to see like stuff like that because it makes series more interesting and have more substance and depth. Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean that's pretty much about what I have to say for Lelouch, but
Yeah. So, I guess the other person I want to talk about is. So, I kind of wish you did talk about Kiritsugu Emiya because the one I want to talk about is Shirou Emiya.
oh okay.
Ooh.
Now, Shirou gets
Please don't
freaking
spoil it.
shit on by anime onlys.
Because they haven't read the VN.
Yeah, a lot of his depth and sort of his actions sort of lose their context in the anime version. In the visual novel, you have kind of you have sort of his internal monologue that puts a whole lot of his thinking into perspective. You understand like the traumas he's gone through. There's this sort of the sort of PTSD that he has that sort of dictates his actions. He sort of devalues himself, and that's not really shown in the anime.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so a lot of people's perception is that he's like your generic plot armored harem protagonist, kind of dumb idiot.
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
Yeah, but there's a whole lot more to them. A lot of Kiritsugu's character arc that you know about Johan and Noah that goes all the way back to stuff Shirou goes through. Sort of this,
Interesting.
yeah, it goes to sort of the theme of Fate Stay Night, and then Zero, of course, is sort of this deconstruction of heroism, what it means to be a hero, how far you go, and sort of the methodology you use, what that does to you as a person. I don't want to get into specifics because this is something we're about to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think this is a character that way too many anime only sleep on. He he's got great development. The way he plays off of whatever female character is his current love interest, be that Saber, Tosaka Rin, or Sakura, or even in Prisma Ilia gets a lot of crap for its like being a fan service heavy show, but Shirou's arc in Oath Under Snow is an incredible inversion of his normal character arcs that he goes through. Man, I wish I could talk about him more but yeah.
Well, we might get a chance when we'll probably get a chance to do that when we watch Fate Stay Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest of the Nasuverse.
Yeah.
While Kari was Chaos was talking, I was actually looking up some Code Geass analysis videos, and I
Yeah,
found
check him
one.
out. Yeah, I saw. See him in the chat.
And I found one that's called Edelgard plus Lelouch, the cost of ideals, and that looks super
Ooh.
interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna watch that eventually. You can cut this out, by the way, but
All right.
yeah, but so yeah, keep going.
Uh, I think that's all. Unless you also want to touch on Kiritsugu with me, because
I think we should do that for a different video because I don't really have like my thoughts organized, but
gotcha.
I mean, I guess the main things that we could talk about are like his like coming into his own emotions and everything, and like how like I guess like trauma, not really. Well, yeah, I guess a little bit, but like depression.
Trauma is absolutely
Yep.
a driving factor in both their character arcs.
Yeah,
Yeah, like trauma and depression,
affects you.
like scene.
Because you've seen how Shiro's story starts at the end of Zero.
Yeah.
His family's killed in that fire, and
or we could just not spoil Fate Zero, but that's cool too.
I mean, this is the basic premise of both, so like we're not spoiling anything.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But yeah, and we see Kirishigu's backstory, how he's sort of developed from this whole lifetime of trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, losing everyone close to him has been his whole life.
Also,
and it's kind of given him that sort of do what it takes attitude. It's molded him into this sort of morally gray character that we know in Fate Zero.
Again, like sort of what you do to be a hero is again a sort of theme through both of them.
Yeah, that's a very interesting part of Kiritsugu's character, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot fundamentally different between Kiritsugu and Shiro's methodology, but there's also a lot of similarity as well, thematically.
Yeah,
and yeah, I can't wait for you guys to see.
Yeah, that makes me hyped for.
I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it, and also looking forward to seeing Queen of Thighs, and Queen of Tsunderes. But we'll
there we go.
He's definitely not Kiritsugu, but
you can see how they've influenced each other, I guess.
Yeah. His sort of worldview is sort of shaped a lot by Kiritsugu. And yeah, can't wait for you to see it.
Fate is great.
Fate is great.
It is excellent.
All the time, it's not that complicated.
No, honestly, like I'm actually like really interested in like the entire Nasuverse, not just like Fate, but like Tsukuhime and stuff like that. Because I've been I've been playing a lot of Melty Blood recently.
I need to watch the Kara no Kyokai movies. Is what I need.
Carnival Phantasm.
No, Carnival Phantasm. I've always seen Kara no Kyokai.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the one with Ryogi, right?
Ryogi Shiki, yes.
Yeah. You can if you want to leave this in, it's up to you.
But we'll see how it works out.
See, yeah.
By the way, we're at about an hour of recording, so
we're good. Yeah,
we're good. We got 6 hours, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Cool.
So
only an hour, really?
Yeah.
Damn, we're so good, bro.
We'll cut this part out.
Yeah, it's fine.
So another protagonist. This part's going to be a little bit shorter, but I feel like I've kind of had this in the back of my mind for a while, and I just kind of want to get it out. Another one that I want to talk about is Tanjiro from Demon Slayer.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
didn't expect that.
And this is specifically about the criticism that Tanjiro has received as of late about being, he's a boring protagonist. He's too nice. He He always
Wait,
forgives
really?
his-
That kind of criticism always bugs me, where people hate people for like
Yeah,
being
yeah.
being
You're too nice. You gotta be an asshole. Be
Yeah,
like
I think people are just- I
Sasuke
think-
or just
I think
step on
people
me,
are just hoping-
asshole.
Yeah, I think people are just like hoping. I think people just want to see more. People just want to see more edge. They want to see more action, more of that hardcore stuff. And it bugs me because I think one of the hallmarks of Tanjiro's character and what makes him so compelling is his kindness towards the demons that he slays in the show Demon Slayer. Um, but I think the fact that he has this compassion for the demons, despite all the horrible things they've done, and the fact, people always say like, "Oh, he always forgives the demons." After
he's
they've
still
killed so many
killing
people.
them. He's still
Yeah,
killing them.
Exactly. He
let
he
him have it.
acknowledges.
Let
I
him
think
have it.
that's part of the maturity of Tanjiro's character is that he acknowledges that these people, these demons have like done reprehensible things and can't be allowed to live any longer. But he also acknowledges the tragedy of their circumstances and what led them to that point. And so he will at least give them an honorable death and treat them with respect and kindness in their final moments. The iconic, those iconic moments where he defeats the demon in the spoilers, by the way, where he defeats the demon in the final selection, and he holds his hand to comfort it. Or after killing Rui, he kind of acknowledges that Rui's sadness in his final moments and goes to him to comfort him.
I've heard some people criticize that moment specifically, but
the Rui part.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but I actually wanted to bring something up. This is sounding a lot like Luffy.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think.
like-
I mean, I do. I guess it is. I guess it is a trope that I am particularly a fan of. But yeah, I think. Well, I think it's a little bit different because.
Well, no. This is a good thing because it's like it's a commonality of what makes a good protagonist, like emotion, maturity. Like when it comes to like fighting your enemies, like you like having like, respect. Like you're not just like a brainless.
Yeah, you're not just like killing them because they're the bad guys, which I think is a lot of what Gon does actually, and why he eventually falls into that he eventually falls as he does.
Yeah, he's not like they turned my lolly sister into a demon. They must pay.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's not like Tanjiro is infallible either. He has his moments of weakness where he genuinely feels the rage inside of him wants to he just wants to kill the demon. But he always returns to his to the kindness in him and his humanity, and I think that makes him really interesting.
Yeah, this reminds me of like sort of a lot of Gundam protagonists who get kind of freaking clowned on by the fan base for basically the same thing, where they're sort of hesitant to like basically a lot of Gundam protagonists are children who have been thrust into war.
The old child soldiers.
And quite a few times they're some of them are pretty passive and hesitant to like indiscriminately kill people.
Yeah.
Especially if the person on the other side of the war is someone they know. I think of Gundam Unicorn Turn A, and even Gundam Age to an extent. That had its own problems, but I digress. Yeah. Like even with so Banagher from Gundam Unicorn, he isn't some perfect pacifist. He just doesn't like senseless murdering. Like he like at one point he acknowledges sort of the importance of war, the fact that sort of killing people becomes necessary at points, but he just doesn't like when the fighting is completely senseless. And there's parts where he sort of falls off. he ends up accidentally killing a person who's close to him, in sort of a fit of rage. But that's still still being a decent person, not wanting to commit straight up war crimes. I don't see why people have a problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people equate like a character being kind and nice to a character being boring. Because in many cases a character
or being a crybaby in the case of Mech Fan.
I was about to say I have not watched Evangelion, or I've only watched a little bit of it, but from what I've heard, a lot of people don't like Shinji because of he's not willing to just get in the mech and kill the aliens or whatever.
I mean that's more to do with him being actually scared and just what happens when he's in that mech is you can't blame him. It's horrifying being in there. So
yeah, absolutely.
But
probably I think at some point.
Yeah, I think Shinji is we could talk about him. He'd be an interesting person to talk about another time. Because he's Evangelion's its own
That's an own beast. Yeah,
its own topic.
But yeah, I think because it pisses me off when people say that like characters being kind or nice or boring, because I think someone being kind or compassionate in the right moments, in moments where it would be really hard to do so, is phenomenal character writing. The choice to not fight or to treat someone with kindness is just as important as choosing the right moment to fight or to do exact justice, I guess.
Yeah. Granted, for the longest time, media was sort of leaning on that, on the compassionate, do nothing wrong kind of protagonist, but
I guess so. I mean, there was definitely a period of time where a lot of media took the less interesting route of just like this hero is perfect and good because they're the protagonist and they can do no wrong.
Character syndrome, or
something like that. But yeah, I think there's a distinction. I think that definitely burned a lot of people out. But there's there's a distinction between like a kind character and just like a Mary Sue / Gary Stu.
Ooh, yeah. Like
And
if we ever get to talking about bad protagonists, there's some. There's some stuff.
I already have a couple of characters in my head that we could
get
into a little roast.
Yeah, and it's annoying when people who aren't Mary Sue's get accused of being one, but that's what I'm thinking goes beyond talking about anime.
Yeah, beyond all that. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I think that's pretty much my main point about Tanjiro.
All right, so I think it's my next character, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so this is the final character I'm going to talk about. Now, if you remember what I said in my, I guess you could say, thesis, if you want to use like...
Yeah,
that term. I mentioned, a lot of commonalities or common traits that I feel good protagonists have. And one that I didn't really touch on is relatability. Now, this next character, at least for me, is probably one of the most relatable characters I've seen in a while. And not like Guts. Guts obviously is pretty relatable because of, the hardships he endures. But this
trauma.
character. But this fucking character. Denji from Chainsaw Man. Now, I'm not gonna we're not going to get into all the spoilers, and I don't think I really need to because this is kind of like literally just read the first like 5 to 10 chapters and you'll see this.
Yeah, this is early stuff.
So this character is quite different from the previous 2 characters I talked about. Unlike most shonen protagonists, Denji doesn't have any lofty or overly ambitious goals in mind. I remember there's this meme where it's like, oh, could you really have a motivation as vulgar as just wanting to cop a feel? And it's like a picture of like the crayon eater, like Lojack, and it's like it's like it's actually pretty fun. It's like Gon, Tanjiro,
Naruto, Luffy, etc.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And so this man's had a rough life. Maybe not as rough as some other characters, but it's pretty rough. And he just wants to live a normal life, pretty understandable. And he just wants to fondle some nice breasts. And this is where I'm not going to read off of the script anymore, and I'm just going to speak my mind. Forgive me, Sasuke.
Oh no.
Now, unfortunately, your boy is down cataclysmic, bro. Like, have you heard the 6 paths of down bad? Your boy is not down bad. Your boy is not down atrocious. Your boy is not down horrendous. He is down cataclysmic. Your boy is trying to scrap. He's scrapping for the poon, my guy. For the pussy, my guy.
Oh.
Your boy is fighting. Your boy is just like killing demons and devils, all so he can get some of that good Makima hate. Okay? Your boy just wants to eat sushi off of her naked back, my guy. Your boy is simping, but not in the bad way, in the good way. Not at all. Forget I said that. That's a whole other
conversation. Yeah.
Oh, a whole different conversation. But your boy is just out here, and your boy he actually succeeds. He gets to feel some tits because women are totally like this in real life, where you do something nice for them 3 times, and they give you 3 squeezes, because that's totally how women work. But it's okay.
That's how devils work. That's how devils work, at least.
Yeah, there you go.
Our incels would like to know your location.
Oh god. Denji is he's definitely one of the most he was very refreshing to me, I think.
A breath of fresh air, my guy.
As a protagonist, because he just felt so he felt so raw and real. Like he's not this paragon of righteousness and justice, and he knows it. Like he knows he's not doing any he knows he's not doing any of this to like make people safe or like defeat evil or anything. He just wants to cop a feel. He wants to like get with some ladies, and he wants to be admired as the Chainsaw Man, and eat lots of good food and just live it up.
Yeah, have a good time,
Yeah, and there's unmistakably, even though he is technically like not fully human, there is an unmistakably human aspect to Denji's character that I think a lot of modern protagonists don't really encapsulate as much as Denji does.
Oh yeah, and maybe some people, particularly children, let's be honest, will be like, will make fun of getting scared, like, bro, he's got such a stupid motivation. He just wants to have sex. Like, what's his that's bad. No, not at all. It's actually like Noah said, very refreshing, and it's relatable.
Works, but it works like having something just really just simple as your motivation. If you make a story that just sort of accomplishes being good with just something really simple as their motivation, that's saying something.
It really is.
It does.
This is right.
Yeah, I think Fujimoto really hit the nail on the head and really like tapped into something important with Chainsaw Man. in that sort of human element that is not just in Denji, just the whole series in general. But Denji, I think, is the core of it, and might be, and honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, Denji might be like the best character in the series. Honestly,
Uh, I'll have to disagree with that, but story for another day.
yeah. Um, well, he's at least, yeah, he's definitely like it's about how often in a series, particularly shonen, is the protagonist the most popular character or the best character?
It's pretty common, I'd say, at least with some of like the, more okay, maybe not. I'm thinking of stuff like Naruto and obviously, Kakashi, Itachi,
Yeah, yeah.
uh
Oh, there are plenty of characters better than Naruto in that
well,
series.
well, I mean, I wasn't talking about writing, I was just talking about popularity, but
Oh, yeah.
Puppy.
but
In terms of popularity, yeah, I kind of touched on this in the very beginning, but yeah, the protagonist is often overshadowed by the side characters or even the villains, sometimes.
Yeah,
Uh,
that definitely isn't uncommon.
yeah. Um but I mean, I think the good thing to remember is just that no matter what, as long as something is done well, I don't think it really matters like what kind of character you make. It's just everything can be executed well and just horribly,
yeah, like uh, even the most insane, balls to the walls concept can be executed with finesse if you put in the care and work with it, like Chainsaw Man.
Oh yeah. Um, and honestly, I think Fujimoto is just laughing about how the internet is like
Oh, for
responding
sure,
to his characters, and I think for those of you that have actually read the manga, you kind of have an idea of what I'm
for
getting at.
sure, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But let's not start a war right now.
Yeah. Oh, we'll be starting some of those in the future, I think.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
It must be done.
Sure we will.
This is the demon realm, my friends. There is no escape. No one's safe. All right. Any final? Or well, I'm so sorry, Chaos. Do you have a third character? Or
I do not. But
Uh,
that's
well,
cool.
yeah. I have one more, well, actually a pair of protagonists that I'd like to talk about kind of in conjunction with each other. Uh, that would be protagonists, two of the JoJos from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh, okay.
That is, I'll keep it spoiler free, don't worry.
Thank you.
Part one's Johnathan Joestar and part seven's Johnny Joestar. And
I see what you're going for.
yes,
You said Jonathan. You said Jonathan and Johnny.
yes, there are two different characters.
Johnny is part 6. No, that's
Part
part 7, right?
part seven, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so when you look at it from the outset, these characters are pretty obviously like opposites of each other. You can kind of for certain reasons, it's kind of set up that way that like one is kind of a parallel or an inversion of the other. Um, and just comparing them is a very interesting thing to do because you have Johnathan, which is he's this sort of paragon of righteousness. You know, he's the gentleman. He's the prototypical JoJo character. He's the first one, so that's kind of what he's meant to be. Uh, he's this big, buff guy, who is always chivalrous, always heroic. And he's very 1980s shonen, I guess.
Yeah, he was I think he was meant to be a parody of characters like
Yeah, he's meant to be. Yeah, he's inspired by like characters like Kenshiro.
yeah, those kind of super buff.
Yeah, that buff, like macho man. I think Rocky was inspired by like Clint Eastwood and characters like that. Well, that's more part three, but still.
I know with Clint Eastwood, that was sort of
Yeah, that's
Jotaro's
more.
thing.
Yeah, that's more Jotaro. But still, that's sort of like macho man.
Yeah, that's
Like from the '80s. that kind of protagonist.
Yep.
Stoic, stoic badass type.
Yeah. Yeah, and Johnathan is a good protagonist, I think. He's I wouldn't say some people say he's boring. I wouldn't say that much, but I still think, but yeah, he's a lot more like I don't want to say I don't want to say stereotypical. I guess like I get he's a lot more prototypical
Yeah.
than a lot of the others that come after him. Johnny, on the other hand, is a very unique protagonist. He's in a lot of ways like the complete opposite of Johnathan. I'm fairly certain that Rocky did this intentionally because it's really striking. Like in lieu of the big like 6'4" buff man that is Johnathan, you have this like 5'6" little twink of a guy in Johnny. Like, and he's like he's very short, very lean. His build is almost completely different.
He's got the lean, mean swimmer's body, bro.
Yeah. And as opposed to Johnathan, who is very like athletically adept, Johnny is like literally in a wheelchair, so he's not moving around a lot. And as opposed to Johnathan, who's very heroic and chivalrous, Johnny is kind of a dick for most of the series. Like his motivation is very selfish. It's to the point where people are like actually more sympathetic towards the villain of Part 7 than Johnny. Some of them, anyways. That's a topic for another day. But he is quite selfish. He's driven mostly by his self-interest and not really by like heroic ideas or anything. And his arc and Johnathan, while Johnathan is a very static character for much of Part 1, Johnny is very fluid. He's always growing. He's always growing both physically and emotionally. As he goes on the Steel Ball run. He's learning with gyro and developing his stand and stuff like that, and it's really compelling. And I think it's not a very controversial statement that Johnny is probably the most well-written JoJo in the series, and his arc is really compelling. And like I said in my first point, he is emblematic of the themes of that series, which are like the fight against fate and what it means to be heroic and stuff like that. And yeah, I just think that's I think it's unique to a series like JoJo's. I think JoJo's is really one of the only series that could have something like this because of the nature of its storytelling and like the part structure that it has. And I just think it's really special that Araki was able to come up with something like this. I think that's all I have to say about them.
Okay.
I need to start catching up on the sort of the post Part 6 stuff.
Yeah, now's definitely the time to do it, I think.
Yeah.
With Part 6 just around the corner.
I'm gonna be honest, I kind of just tuned out a little bit because I was just really scared that you're gonna accidentally spoil Part 7.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
And
you wouldn't do it.
And by the way, I'm not gonna read any comments on this video.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I'll take care of all that kind of stuff.
What I'll probably do is like have Noah like skew through them and then like pick out the ones that like aren't spoilers and like react to them or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so do we have any final closing thoughts about what makes a good protagonist?
I think that the protagonist anime protagonists come in many shapes and sizes, as we've demonstrated, and I still think there's a lot of room for I think there's still a lot of room for new stuff. Anyways, like there's a lot of room. There's like tropes to be subverted, and sort of new avenues to take. Which yeah, I hope that future generations of manga and anime kind of. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
I mean, I think I've said pretty much everything I've wanted to say, but like I said, the things that are important: realistic human traits, relatability, sympathy, watching the protagonists go through failure, and grow through struggle, complexity and depth, and like as well as substance, and how well the character fits the tone of the series. And by the way, it's not like the character has to fill in all these to
Of
be
course.
great. It's just these are common things that tend to work well, or at least from the series that I've read.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I believe that Araki said in one of his interviews that, or I think it was one of his books, that characters, if the characters are strong enough, you almost don't even need like a plot or like a setting or anything. If the characters are strong enough, that they will carry the story with them. And I think that goes doubly so for the protagonist. If you have a strong protagonist, you can do pretty much anything with your series.
Yeah, on that topic, that's why the sort of slice of life genre exists.
Yeah, because you have these distinct characters, and you can just keep putting them into situations and seeing what they do.
And then you have those shonen, like very stereotypical anime tropes where it's like, oh well, let's see what happens next. They go to the beach and
yeah. The beach episode. And you just see how these characters exist in this world.
Yeah.
So is that anybody else have anything else to say?
Read the visual novel, you fate secondaries.
All right. Yeah. All right. So I think that that concludes this episode of the Anime Connoisseurs. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Thank you, and good night.
And make sure to, tell us about if you disagree with anything we say. We love to hear have conversations, like in discussions in the comments. Totally cool with that. Just try to be cool, spoilers, but I mean, people are not going to do that anyways, but just chill,
Yeah, we love to get...
It's only, this is just fiction, it's just, don't take it too seriously, like have fun with it, but you could still kind of do like a critical stuff like this, but try to enjoy it, because I think we all know, people don't tend to do that, especially in a lot of fandoms with younger audiences.
Of course. Yes, we'd love to get a discussion. We'd love to get discussions going in the comments. Tell us if you agreed or disagreed with anything, and do try to keep it civil, of course. So that will do it for this episode, and we'll see you all next time.
Have yourselves a good one, and make sure to drink plenty of water. All right.
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah. Cut the recording.
All right.
I'm pretty proud of that, and I'm proud of you guys. Good shit.